Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Soul and Screen. In this particular video, I will be doing a review on Tyler Perry's Sistas, Season 9, Episode number 18, titled Diamonds Are Forever. Let's get into it. So, picking up from last week, let's just pick up there. Aaron was proposing to Karen. We catch up on this week's episode, and of course, she says yes. And I don't know that anybody thought that she wouldn't, in all honesty, because of how things have been written this season. And again, I think everybody understands that there's a consensus that this is just this is the season. It's been the last few seasons where they've been trying to redeem Karen's character, but even more so because apparently Karen is moving to Seattle, and I'm assuming with that being said, Ebony Obsidian is leaving the show. With that being said, some very unrealistic storylines, accelerations of storylines, and things that would not, in my opinion, have happened for a while, should they have decided to take their time and allow this Karen character to progress at a proper rate. With that being said, I think she could have come to this place, but I don't think she's here yet. And so they're expediting things, and it makes it really, an unrealistic storyline. And with that being said, I don't spend much time on it. So with that being said, she did say yes. Which, again, in my mind, I don't think she ever was going to say no, for a couple of reasons. I think actually Karen is still using Aaron, and Aaron has always been okay with being used, so Karen doesn't have enough money to leave the state, cross country at that, on her own. She started this business. The business is really just still kind of up in the beginning stages of the revamp that she did. Remember, the store fell, the beauty salon burned up down in season 6, and this is literally just months within it actually being the grand reopening of her salon. So she doesn't have the money yet. And then the Roots to Riches partnership has not necessarily hit yet. So Karen doesn't have the money to move across the country with her baby outside of Aaron being accompanying her. So I do believe Karen is still, in a certain sense, still operating in the old way of Karen, meaning she don't care about nobody but herself and her. Aaron is a means to an end. Excuse me. Meaning he has the money to move her where she wants to move. Like, literally, he just came and told her that he found a spot for them to move into and everything. And if she remembers, she can't, he got sat down for having sex with her in season 3. So she absolutely probably still understands that she's going to have to marry him if she's going to actually pick up and move to another state across the country. And he's already secured a residence for them to stay in, where sounds like it's going to be pretty much paid for by the ministry that he's going to be working for. So when you don't got no money and you trying to get away, and I will say start over and run, because I think both things are taking place. Aaron he fits the bill for it. So he about to fund the entire move. And for her, all I got to do is whether they get married now or at least stay engaged with you, but they gonna have to get married before they move in a week. And so anyway, with that being said, I wasn't shocked that Karen said yes, in all honesty. Excuse me. Again, to move on, fast forward a little bit into the episode, we get to where, let's see. So let's talk about the Sabrina thing. So Sabrina Damani basically is telling Sabrina that he wants her to destroy her embryos because, he was the sperm donor. Now, what I do know about this process, because I did go through the process myself as a single woman, so do not come for me in the comments. I ain't trying to go there with y'all, but I did try to go through the IVF process on my own as a single woman. I did not do it through a known donor, meaning the donor, she knows Damani. It's called a known donor. So with that being said, it sounds like she screwed herself, or she would have any legal ramifications because she didn't go through the proper channels. And I say that because everything in IVF is very, very much so detailed, documented, contracts and things like that. And it looks like she just took some random dude's word who knew her and decided to go take his embryos. And so, to take his specimen to use for her embryos. Now, with that being said, as she had a conversation and explained with to Maurice, she did something stupid, and she did this on a verbal instead of actually having contracts drawn up, which in IVF you should have everything done through an attorney as much as possible, because especially when you know the person, just because it can get messy. And so now, in all honesty, the fact that Damani and his fiance came to her job and told her basically that they're going to take her to court because she didn't do this the right way, she may actually end up losing custody of her embryos. Now, I will say this does create a good drama point for her. And this is with Rich coming in, I can probably see that her and Rich are going to get back together because he is being persistent. He actually is very much so apologetic about what he did. And she's going to need that kind of a support system. So I can see how they're going to possibly try to use this as a way to keep Rich in her life. With that being said, Sabrina is kind of probably going to be like a regular custody case because of the fact that she didn't go through the proper channels. Now, here's the thing. Sabrina does this all the time. And as a person who works in the bank, she should know better than this. Now, I absolutely work in the financial industry. And so if you are learning and gleaning from your skills and the processes and the departments and things that you are in, then you should know to set up a contract, to read over the contracts and things, and she just doesn't do them. But Sabrina has always been this person, and so this is one of the reasons I don't like her character, because she always plays the victim, but she always puts herself in these positions. The whole situation with, back in season, 2 and 3, when she was talking to Jabari, I think it is, or whatever his name is, the dude that worked at the bank with her and Maurice. Oh, Jacoby. I'm sorry. There you go. Jacoby. So, she's like, oh, I didn't sexually harass him. I didn't do anything. He came on to me. You're his subordinate. He's your subordinate. You're his boss. And so, yeah, honestly, you technically did bring yourself into a situation where you can be sexually harassed. You know what I'm saying? He can claim sexual harassment against you because you did fire him in this situation when your boyfriend or the guy that you're in a relationship came at him, and he's now being the target, and you fired him. And, he shouldn't have hit him, but there was no investigation. There was nothing. She just fired him. And so she opened herself up to that, but she tried to play the victim. Sabrina does this all the time. She always gives out, confidential information. There's no way that the girl should have known anything about Zach, his money, the amount of money he had, where he lives, or anything like that. So Sabrina crosses the line all the time. And as someone who works in a bank, she understands and knows very much so about contracts. And so she put herself in this problem. So That's one of the reasons I don't typically have any type of, like, I don't feel, sympathetic towards Sabrina half the time, because she makes ditzy and dingy decisions. And I say that because she has the knowledge, but she does not put any of it into practice on her own self. You work at a bank, you help people make investments. Like she was saying that, her stocks and all that kind of stuff, that takes some wit and some savviness. So you're not stupid. And so what you do is, when you have the knowledge of certain things and you choose not to walk in it or utilize it, then you start making silly and ditzy decisions, to me. And that's just Tiffany's opinion. So moving on, she may definitely have an issue where it comes into a custody situation of those embryos. And at that point, if she loses custody of them, and then Damani and his fiance want to ship them to somewhere else and have them destroyed, they will be able to do that, and it wouldn't be anything that she can do about it. Now, moving on to the, let's talk about Fatima and let's start off with Fatima and Andy. So Fatima and Andy get to work that morning. They both kind of question each other about each other's evening, where Fatima basically explains to Andy that that she had an encounter with Gary, and that, Gary put the money back into Zach's account and all that kind of stuff. And Andy then at that point disclosed to Fatima that she had already had a conversation with Gary of a similar nature, where he was apologizing and things like that. And he did mention that he was going to reach out to others and try to make it right. Fatima was like, well, dang, a heads up would have been nice. And she was like, I know, but we were just in that really weird place. And so I apologize. So they, decide, got you. They move on. If you fast forward a little bit into the episode, you see where Karen actually is seeing Fatima in a conference room looking over some contracts. And she goes into the conference room. She earlier Andy had told Fatima that Karen was going to come up there to discuss the possible lawsuit. And so this is that meeting. So when Karen gets there, she knocks on the door and she walks in, and Fatima, of course, greets her. And Fatima tells her, what is this kind of this glow you got about you? And so she tells Fatima basically that Aaron proposed to her last night. She said yes, and that they are moving to Seattle. Fatima, being the person she is, absolutely was, happy for her, and told her, good for you. You deserve to be happy. She did ask her, how does she feel about up and moving across the country? And, she told Fatima that she was, happy about the new start. And I was like, got you. Now, in all honesty, Fatima is genuine, most likely, about this, because that's who Fatima is in her character. But also, this probably, in all honesty, brings a little bit more comfort to Fatima, that you ain't gonna be here to be messing with me during me and my pregnancy with Zach's child, because again, the girl will flip a switch and be on one in a minute. So if you cross the country, then I don't have to worry about you bringing any drama or anything else to me in Zach's door, because you still want him and can't get over him, whatever it was going to trigger in you. So anyway, you move on to the another thing that happened with Fatima is her and Hayden, of course, meet up with a female basketball player. Now, remember, they put into practice where Fatima did mention to Hayden, that's an untapped market for us, and so we should look into that. And so this looks like to be the beginning of that, which I said in a previous video that I love that they did take this part of Crystal's actual real life into female sports and investing and things like that into female sports, and brought it to her character as Fatima, where she's representing these particular athletes. And so she had a moment there where she, a little funny moment where she tells the girl, because the lady asked her, is Hayden single? And she's like, yeah, I think he gay. And so that kind of stuff. So that was kind of funny. And then you fast forward a little bit more, and Hayden actually comes to her office to discuss, contracts and things. And she discloses to Hayden that you're probably going to have to take the forefront on all of this, because I do have to get back to some of my stuff with Andy, because it just didn't work out well with the scheduling and things like that. Hayden basically tells Fatima, like, I'll talk to Andy because she's not about to be messing with our money, because in all honesty, these clients are bringing in more money to the law firm. And so he basically talks Fatima and gives her some really good sound advice, meaning, like, don't just throw this away just because Andy is over there on one. And she told Fatima that she wasn't jealous, and that may actually be true or whatever, but I agree that Fatima can probably do both if she just manages her time a little bit better. And that is, to me, what somebody should help her do. And I don't know if Fatima does. I think should kind of reach out and ask for some pointers from, whether it's Hayden, since her and Hayden seem to be in a pretty decent place, or actually reach out to Andy as my boss, somebody that I looked up to as a mentor, and then a friend. Like, do you have any suggestions on how I could possibly organize my day a little bit more so that I'm being here to support you fully, but still being able not to miss out on this opportunity? And Andy should be able to help her with that. Either Hayden or Andy. And I say that because they have to juggle multiple, clients as well. And she is a paralegal, of course, but they probably have more experience at it, because why? They started off probably in the same progression of their career. You know what I'm saying? You go to law school, you start off interning and doing the legal assistant, paralegal thing, and then you do. So they have a little bit more experience probably at it. So some suggestions is something that, Fatima may need to reach out for and request. So moving on. One of the other things that caught my attention is Andy and her mom. I don't know. I think, her coming up to her job, like, her mom is just really out of pocket on some stuff. I'm gonna be honest, and I understand every mom and daughter situation and dynamic is so interesting and different. And with that being said, I do think the realness of the mom questioning, like, is you gonna have some kids? You gonna give me some babies? Because I think that's absolutely real. I don't know that every mom comes at you so direct like that, but for the most part, moms want their daughters especially to have some grandkids, to bring them some babies. I mean, they want grandbabies no matter what from their daughters and their sons, but they are really on women about it because of the fact of our age, and the older the women, women get the quality of your egg supposedly goes down and things like that, for any men who may be listening and don't know. But anyway. So I think that part was real and realistic. What I do think is out of pocket is that the mom keeps showing up at her job talking about personal stuff. And she, like, I'm just trying to figure out, like, why you keep bringing this to my job? Like, you all this stuff, like, that she had talked to her about when she first showed up, about her relationship with Gary and all that kind of stuff. This is at home moments. These are not at work moments, but got you, mom. Like, I'll talk to you later. Here's the other thing I think what the writers are doing. I do think that the writers are trying to figure out what drama points they can bring to each of these characters. And I feel like right now they're just kind of searching, so to speak. And so that's kind of why some of these things are popping up, because I think right now it's like just real weird and random that Andy's mom is so on her. And then that this whole situation with Zach and Mr. Keys, and let's go into that since we're there, is coming up, where a lot of people are speculating that what happens if, Mr. Keys is actually Zach's dad and things like that. So I'm going to say this, and I don't know if it's true or not. I think that would be too obvious. Now, with that being said, the writers are not absolutely doing anything that's not like, stuff that, everybody's thinking, in all honesty. They're not bringing any surprise or twist or, oh my goodness, like plot twist to that. They're not. They are absolutely being very predictable in this. And so it could be that he's that Mr. Keys turns out to be Zach's dad. I actually feel like he's going to be his uncle. I feel like because he could be. He knows a lot of the information, and so I feel like he's like a family member or something. I don't know, cousin or whatever, because A friend, I don't know, especially with guys, would fall out with you just because you leave and you decide to be a deadbeat or whatever. But your brother or a family member may do that because, especially if they want to have any type of relationship with their niece and nephews and things like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know guys, I don't know how guys think, but I know women are like that. Meaning, if my brother had a child that was around and you chose not to be around, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, my aunt would come and pick me up and take me over to my dad's mom's house so that I could see my cousins and all that kind of stuff because my dad wasn't around. So she would come and do it. His sister would come and do it. And so those are things that family members do. Like, if you gonna do what you want to do, and if you don't want to be around, that's fine, but I'm gonna know my nephew. And so with that being said, I'm wondering if he's more of a family member, an uncle, who tried to get Zach's dad to have some type of relationship with them. And with that being said, that will give Zach, not necessarily the relationship with his dad or anything, but have some kind of attachment in knowing, so to speak, of his of at least one of his sides of the family. And Mr. Keys seems to also be somebody that may be able to give him that positive male role model that he needs, because he's getting ready to enter into different places and phases in his life, right? Him and Fatima are getting married. Fatima's pregnant. He's about to be a dad. From what we hear with the Michael situation, like, he's had some practice being a dad, but it seems to be very spotty. So it's like sometimes he has and sometimes he doesn't. And that could be a little, different than having your child in the house full time. You know what I mean? So he's getting ready to walk into some different realms relationship wise. Him and Fatima's relationship is getting ready to shift and things, because they're going to be a married couple with a family and things like that. And so it would be nice to see Zach have some positive male role models, somebody that can kind of tell them that, no, I wasn't perfect. I was, did some stupid stuff too, but, can help him navigate, what men do, because Zach has also stated many times that he didn't have male role models. So no, he doesn't know, what to do. He's kind of playing this all by ear. And so I think that would be pretty cool with that. So anyway, that's that. The next thing I think that kind of caught me, and to an extent, was of course the play with Danny and Andy and this police officer. He's just messy. That's all. That's just going to turn into some kind of a messy thing. My thing is, I don't really feel like, and I don't know if the writers are going to take it here, and I hope that they don't, in all honesty, that even though Danny and Andy are at each other, I don't think some random dude that's flirting with both of them, that is purposefully trying to cause friction between this friend group, is going to be an issue for friends who have been, friends with each other for decades. They've been with, friends since college and stuff. They're mid-30s. And so, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is like almost 2 decades of friendship at this point. So, if you guys really had a solid friendship and things like that, and are not just looking for ways to just disconnect, this shouldn't be a problem. Once they do find out that they are possibly dating the same dude, then I don't think it's going to be a problem for them. I think, again, the writers are trying to figure out some other drama points. And I think right now they're just kind of brainstorming and doing it on screen, if that means anything. So I don't think that's going to turn into anything. What I don't like is that they keep having Danny, while Danny is progressing in certain areas, and I do think this is realistic in a way, is that when you are in therapy, you do evolve in certain areas, and in other areas you don't. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like Danny, if she was truly in love with Tony, though they have some issues to work out, like her kind of reverting back to what she was doing with Preston. And I know everybody wanted Danny and Preston to be together, but I don't think Danny wanted Preston. You know what I'm saying? And she's that's why she was like talking to Tony. Like, she had got into a relationship with Preston and then went on a date with Tony. You know what I'm saying? And that's what she's doing with this thing. So she's in a relationship with Tony. They are having an argument. They are in the middle of some rocky, situations. But for her to spend time talking or texting this officer, getting to know him, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's crossing a line to me. I some people may not think that is. I think it's starting to cheat. You know what I mean? I think those are areas where you are starting to cultivate a relationship. You're getting to know somebody while you're in a relationship. And I don't agree with those kind of methods. I'm also somebody who, I'm a little older in age, of course. So I don't feel like, at a certain age, you should still be playing games with people's heart. If you don't want to be with somebody, then don't be with them. Just dip. You know what I'm saying? Like, stop playing with people's emotions. That's what make people like trip out and things like that. So anyway, I don't think that's going to be an issue as far as the relationship and friendship or sistership between Andy and Danny. I think, once they find out, they're going to let him have it, in all honesty. But I do think it's a possibility to be an issue between Danny and Tony, which I don't know if that's a big issue or not. I don't know if they're trying to get rid of Tony out of the storyline or not. Especially since Danny basically told him she's not dealing with somebody who has issues with any type of addictions. Anyway, that was pretty much everything I think in the episode to me. What I did like is that they did allow Krisha to bring in the cortisone and hormonal issue that Danny may be experiencing. So I do like that the writers are trying to bring in issues that Black women deal with in the Black community when it comes to health, meaning like Rich in season 7 when they brought up the sickle cell, IVF with women, Black maternal health, and how we're treated as Black women in healthcare and things like that. So I do like that, and because I do think that a lot of people may not know those things, and so now that the term is out there, cortisol imbalance, that may bring women and start listing symptoms that may give some, a window of education to women who are watching who may not know to go and ask a doctor and see if that's what's going on with them. Because everything ain't perimenopause, right? Like, I mean, some stuff is, but some stuff ain't, you know what I mean? It could be other issues. And so with that being said, I do like that part of the things that the writers are bringing out, but these other storylines, I do feel like this was a filler episode as well. I'm actually not really interested or hopeful. Let me say it that way. I'm not hopeful that these next few episodes are going to be really good. I think they just closing out the tribute to Karen before she leaves, if that's what's going to happen. I wouldn't be surprised if this little get together that Karen is saying ends up being a spur of the moment wedding where Aaron crashes it and they do an on the spot wedding. I'm gonna be really honest and tell you that's gonna piss all the Fatima fans off, because Karen, the way that they are giving all this stuff to Karen while Zach and Fatima have been engaged and weathered all this kind of stuff, that's gonna piss us off. So anyway, let me know what you think about the episode. Let's get into a conversation down in the comments. Once again, thank you so much for listening and participating in the conversation, for supporting the channel. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. I have been getting suggestions on other shows to look over. I will definitely get into a couple of them and start working my way through those. Give me some grace as I do that, because I do actually still work a full-time job, and so I do the reviews and things in between. So give me some mercy, but I did hear some suggestions, some really good ones, and I plan to get to those in addition to doing the earlier seasons of Fatima. But in the meantime, you guys have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.